This will be the one and only time I ever address these fatuous accusations. On the subject of defamatory nonsense, particularly promulgated by the Perma Online Brigade, I tend to hold with a quote from the great John Milton. The best apology for false accusers is silence, sufferance, and honest deeds set against dishonest words. But I also knew that while the accusations were libelous and shockingly simple to disprove, they were also entirely too lurid for some talent-bereft drama hump and half-wits not to make the mistake of attaching their channels, reputations, and indeed their entire careers to, after which I would drop my reams upon reams of receipts and end their careers overnight. So I hope you fellas enjoyed the 2-week victory lap I allowed you all to have, because now karma comes to collect. And if you thought Pro Jared had receipts to prove his innocence, buckle up, bitch. Fortunately for me, I don't even really need all of that exculpatory proof to disprove the most serious of these claims, because as many of my fans have already helpfully pointed out, the available timeline already disproves them. If I were to allege that Elon Musk robbed a jewelry store on June 13th at 6:00 p.m., seems to me step one in establishing or annihilating that allegation would be to check the surveillance footage on June 13th at 6:00 on the dot. So, as internet sleuths have already deduced, due to the age and birth date of the accuser, in order for this relationship to have occurred when they say it did, I would have had to be dating this person in or throughout 2015. Any later than this, and the entire timeline collapses. Fortunately for me, 2015 was also significant in that it's the same year I began streaming in earnest. The name of that series is RazörFist Arcade, and the entire thing is publicly available in a single handy playlist on my channel's front page, and has been since 2015. In fact, if you click on only the third video on that playlist, a live stream of the game Thief 4 that originally aired on March 18th, 2015, you can disprove these allegations within about 30 seconds. Because at that point in the video, a woman's voice can be heard.
Do you ever plan on playing or reviewing the original Dark Souls?
Yeah, I've heard the original Dark Souls is a lot better than 2. Hold on, there is actually... My lady just hurt herself. There is actually a way to get...
The identity of the voice? My actual girlfriend at the time. A 26-year-old white woman with a high soprano voice, as contrasted with the lower Latina voice of the accuser. She was my earliest co-host on RazörFist Arcade. She interacted fairly and warmly with my audience, hence why they affectionately named her Lady Fist, which is why I find it so unctuous that drama-humping douchebags found it necessary to write her out of existence in order to forward a false narrative about a relationship I was not in at this time. One of the worst mistakes a defamation merchant can make when inventing a lie about someone is to include a third party in the lie who can gainsay your story. In this case, my current co-host and longtime editor, Taryn Gell, was there the entire time and can confirm I was with Ladyfist not only in 2015, but for several years thereafter. We started streaming in 2015.
Yeah.
You became co-host shortly after that. So there's streams from like February and March where she's the co-host. After you became co-host, do you remember her still being in the picture?
Absolutely. You would often see her just... This would be back in your old place, that she'd be in the back chilling on the bed. She'd go in and out or whatever.
Right.
But she was still there.
And she would chime in sometimes on streams.
Oh, absolutely.
I seem to remember,
yeah.
Right?
Well,
so,
you would invite her to.
Right. So would you say that she was still in the picture for like only a month or two after that, or would you say that was like for a year or more?
Definitely a year or more. She was there for a while.
Right.
Lady Fist was a Caucasian female, very, very pale woman.
Even after Taryn Gell settled into the co-host role, Lady Fist remained a fixture of arcade live streams in the years that followed, albeit only in the background. In fact, when I recorded a recreation of the Shadow radio drama entitled The Immortal Murderer, cast in the role of Margot Lane, as the credits will confirm, and your own ears will as well, was none other than Lady Fist.
No, take it easy, Commissioner.
It's easy for you to sit there smirking, Cranston.
He's not smirking, Commissioner.
My apologies, Miss Lane. I ought to have said leering.
That episode was uploaded on Halloween, October 31st, 2016. Over a year after every imbecilic E-drama dick holster falsely alleges I was dating the accuser. And before anyone argues, well, you're clearly keeping the relationship a secret from your public girlfriend. Okay, that almost makes sense. Until you remember that I wasn't keeping Lady Fist at all private from the accused. So why, in every defamatory screenshot, in every autism-infused E-drama video in existence, in the long litany of defamatory and false allegations, is not once it claimed that I publicly dated another woman while I was supposed to be with the accuser on RazörFist Arcane live streams that thousands of people watched? Seems to me that would be item number 1 on the list of douchey things I'd done if even one of these accusations were accurate. There goes the timeline, there goes the accusations along with it, all after 30 seconds of research on a public playlist. 30 seconds of research that SmashJT and the drama parasites on the Cringe Casino couldn't be bothered to do before obliterating the last waning rivulets of their remaining credibility by committing libel and ending their own careers. And all before I've dropped a single private receipt, of which I have many, motherfucker. But I know what you're saying. I don't believe Terengel. After all, he's Razor's buddy. He's biased. Maybe he hallucinates Latinas into white chicks in his spare time. Maybe he's misremembering her sitting by his side for over 3 damn years. Why, without seeing her, in order to know she isn't the accuser, what we need is a vocal analysis, and I agree. So first, let's hear Lady Fist again.
There is no way you cried when Eris died.
I so did. I even have the soundtrack on my iPod, and whenever that song plays, I tear up. I have flashbacks.
Ah, but where's the accuser? All we've heard is one side. Well, fortunately for you, I have just the thing, and I think it'll help clear up a lot more than just a vocal analysis, such as why these libelous accusations emerged at all, and who, if anyone, was actually emotionally and physically abused in that relationship.
Do you think that I cannot hurt you without the power of social media?
What?
Because I promise you I can. I have a bunch of shit that'll hurt you.
Okay, nice. Another threat. Very nice.
I'm just telling you the cold hard facts. I am aware of a bunch of shit that'll hurt your feelings. So, what the fuck do I need social media for if I want to hurt your feelings and make you hurt?
So that's... Wow. So we're up to threat number 3. I guess 6.
That's
If,
not a threat.
4, 5? 5 if we count the I will slit your throat or shoot you.
Yeah, because you were talking to me condescending, and I don't like that.
I was not trying to condescend. I was trying to get off the phone and calm things down.
What part you didn't understand? Like, I want you to deactivate your Twitter. You're not allowed to stream this week, and that's going to be the deal. Otherwise,
What?
you can hang up and we'll never talk again, okay?
What?
I'm making you a deal.
Took a turn, didn't it? What you've just heard was an admission to and justification of a murder threat. One that my ex, as a gun owner, actually possessed the means to carry out, might I add. On one occasion, she threatened to murder my wheelchair-bound father, my former roommate, who you all knew as Mormagil, and she even threatened to shoot and kill the dog we picked out together, Cicero. Now, that might seem extreme, unless, of course, you've heard names like Jodi Arias or Amber Heard, because I learned after ending the relationship following an actual murder attempt that my ex had been diagnosed with BPD and HPD. And if that sounds at all familiar, it's because it's the same cocktail of mental illnesses that Amber Heard has. At which point I studied the condition at length, chiefly with a book called Stop Walking on Eggshells, the introduction for which says in so many words, Run! And after she attempted to make good on her threat to murder me, having already threatened to invent a panoply of lies about me to embarrass me in public, as you just heard her admit to over a phone call, I finally resolved to do exactly that. But even after finally extricating myself from this emotionally and physically abusive relationship, the threats of blackmail intensified and finally escalated to action. If you watch the Johnny Depp trial, you have some faint notion of what I dealt with for over a year. False accusations, which the accuser actually bragged about inventing and spreading, privately leaked recordings, absent context of any kind, where she suddenly puts on a Little Bo Peep voice and pretends she didn't initiate an argument entirely, often with preceding physical abuse. It's Johnny Depp and Amber Heard all over again, and a baffling number of leering retards took Amber Heard's side without once engaging in the aforementioned 30 seconds of research required to disprove them, all because they were felted by a fucking tweet! I've seen screenshots of the Twitter hack that are now being bandied about as evidence of this. Problem being, my ex actually refuted those allegations herself in other screenshots, which I posted as proof. So either she was lying on the first occasion, or she was lying on the second. In any case, a proven and inveterate liar. But the blackmail did exist. And here again, on the subject of the entire underage narrative being nothing but a coordinated blackmail and smear campaign, indeed, for an admission of the fact that all of my girlfriends, including her, were very much of age, I don't want you to believe me. I want you to believe her.
I haven't leaked anything. I haven't mentioned anything. I haven't messaged anyone. I haven't,
The word for that is blackmail. When you threaten to do it. And that was my entire point to begin with. This crap about me being a predator and a pedophile. How freaking dare you? My girlfriends have been my age or older.
I know.
But here's the hilarious part. It's all irrelevant. Not only did we prove that the entire timeline's impossible without a flux capacitor and plutonium, not only did the abuser in question admit to death threats and blackmail, not only did they admit they were of age while publicly lying that they were not, but by the grace of God, I had only just begun to return to my faith at the beginning of this relationship. And so, after multiple live-in girlfriends and physical relationships, I finally felt the conviction to actually wait until marriage. I have no defense. I'm simply a sinner. Oh, I intended to marry her, at least the person she was pretending to be, through a BPD technique known as mirroring, wherein they ask a lot of questions and they seem really curious and interested in your life, when in actuality they're assembling a composite personality of all of your likes and dislikes, which they then project back at you like some kind of mirror mask. A BPD abuser has no personality or empathy of their own, and they exploit yours. The victim of said manipulation is left to think they won the jackpot, at least initially. In my case, I thought I had a traditional Christian wife willing to wait until marriage, and then, a month in, the mask started to slip and she became openly abusive, both emotionally and physically. And so, for all the allegations of grooming and gooning, for all the dimwits and dipshits typing the words, "He slept with a child," in their thumbnails, not only was she of age by her own admission, I never proposed marriage, and thus we never slept together. But once again, I do not want you to take my word for it. Instead, I want you to do exactly what you've already been doing. I want you to take her word for it without any proof or research of your own of any kind.
If anybody were to come up to ask me and say, "Hey, how's Razor? How's living with Razor?" "Oh, he's a lying piece of shit."
Except that's not
but
true.
Are you still a virgin? "Yeah, I'm still a virgin." "Oh, but I thought you lived with your boyfriend." "Yep, still a virgin."
Weirdest groomer ever! A relationship that requires a time-traveling DeLorean to actually occur, culminating in no sex whatsoever because we were both waiting until marriage. Saucy stuff, folks! I can see why you'd want to torpedo your entire YouTube career, attaching your credibility to it. But what about the most salacious allegation of all? The ones Blandy Worski and the Diabetosaurus next to him were shaking their talentless tits about for 20 minutes at a stretch, blissfully unaware it was the prologue to the end of their YouTube career. A decade-old, long discredited screenshot from a porn website that no longer exists, featuring incorrect doxing information that's grainier than the Zapruder footage. By all means, Let's dive into that. Because while you world-smashing web sleuths were spending all of 5 seconds repeating lies on an e-drama website whose own page includes a disclaimer that it is, quote, an online humor and satire source, and thus that you shouldn't take anything said therein even the slightest bit seriously, I did some digging of my own, and I didn't have to dig far. You see, the allegation is these videos are not only of me, but the proof is that I uploaded them myself. Now, as an author, I would say I have a fairly distinct authorial voice, marked by bizarre Victorian nomenclature interspersed with the odd peppering of profanity. So in doing some research, I discovered that the video in question was actually uploaded more than once by the same original user on that porn website. And in examining the description of said video, I would imagine my unique grammatical style would be impossible to camouflage. So let's dig in. The first video, entitled Denky Face / Carrot Head, self-deprecating sort that I am, goes on to say, quote, I am that coward, capital C, who have nothing to do just to sit at my cam and review stupid games, capital G. This is the video of my jerking off, capitalized all. Oh, but now here's a curious cultural artifact for any actual Americans out there, because what follows is a phone number that's not only incorrect, but written not in the American, but the international phone number format, meaning with a plus sign, followed by a country code of 1 for America, followed by an unspaced, unhyphenated phone number thereafter, as we in the hinterland of Arizona are so inclined to do. Of course, I remember this video even better than that, because back in April of 2011, the selfsame barely literate troll uploaded this false video to YouTube and linked it to my fans. See, back then, YouTube listed each and every one of your subscribers on your page publicly. So said troll was able to scroll down the list and DM it to them at whim. Some of you rageaholics may still remember this. And so in April of 2011, I shut my channel down only briefly in order to protect my own fans from being spammed by this spurg, as there was no other way to hide my public subscribers. If you're wondering, by the way, why my channel was founded in May of 2009, but none of my videos date to before April of 2011, mystery solved. I had to re-upload them all. Mind you, the video was promptly removed, but the account was still up long enough that I did nab a screenshot of some of the reactions at the time. And it's in combing over the account in question that we see more sterling examples of my writing style. Quote, I'm Daniel Razorbutt. Some know me as Donkey Face, Carrot Head, Dumb Shit, and ... But I prefer Jerkaholic. Yeah, I do believe you cracked the case of my illicit gay porn career, Columbo. You should roll with this narrative without doing any research whatsoever because you're cranky about a tweet. In fact, you should attach the final remaining micrograms of credibility you still possess on your person to push in this piss-poor nonsense and accomplish precisely nothing in the process but utterly embarrassing yourself being caught, once again, lying about strangers on the internet. But we expect laziness and libel from these cum-burping bitches. No one whatsoever surprised when Glandy Warski peers out from the coke cloud, flanked by an anonymous autistic asteroid who, if chins were brains, would rule the fucking world, pauses momentarily to comb an e-drama website that openly admits to lying its dick off from dawn to damn dusk, all to tank the remaining relevance of the Diabito Casino. And as for Gash JT, the fart-huffing hack who honestly confuses himself with an independent journalist, such that he's still spurging about stolen scoops that, if his character in this instance is any indication, he likely stole from someone else. Also, he could slap white text on a wildly original thumbnail and express socially acceptable opinions on the 8 entire members of his imbecilic audience. Ah, well, what you lack in talent, you make up for in chromosomes. Look at the bright side, bud. I've ended bigger careers of infinitely more talented individuals in a 5-minute rant. You only took me 30 seconds. Walk it off, asshole. I hear they're hiring at IKEA. And the receipts you've heard today are only the tip of the shiceberg. I'm holding the real goodies back just in case a crazy person decides to be the latest Me Too accuser to lose in court. But publicly, outside of a courtroom, this is the first and last word I have said about this easily debunked bullshit. On with the rants.